Hello and welcome to the Yankees on Deck podcast. I'm your host, Matt Cunningham, and Subway Series, absolute disaster, top to bottom. Really, honestly, could have not gone any worse than it has gone. The Yankees now lose or about to lose four series in a row. Uh, it's just been an awful stretch, awful stretch of baseball. I mean, you could tell. I mean, with the injuries, Giancarlo going down last series, he's been a big bat for us this year. Bouncing back, being an above-average hitter in our lineup, and staying healthy up until that point. Then he pulled something in his oblique, running the bases. So I didn't have that Braves series recap episode last series that the Yankees lost. And now they come into the Subway Series just totally flat. The pitching was awful. The hitting was awful. Everything was awful. Garrett Cole got the ball yesterday. Had one of his worst starts as a Yankee. I mean, it was not good. And I was actually at the game, and it was brutal. I mean, look, it was his second start coming back from rehabbing and down in the minors, because he got hurt in spring training and he's been out for several months. But, the final line for him: 4 innings pitched, 7 hits, 6 earned runs, 4 walks. This was last night. So this episode is just going to be a series recap. I'm going to be talking about tonight's game, but also yesterday's game. So I might as well start with yesterday's game. The Yankees, by the way, they're still playing right now because they were in a rain delay. It's 11 o'clock at night, but they are losing 10-2 to the Mets, and it's now the bottom of the seventh inning. So I'm just going to record this now and get it done because the Yankees are not winning this game. I mean, it's pretty much over. The Yankees, the other night, they lost 9-7, and they were down pretty significantly for most of the game. They did try and come back, late in the game. Judge had a grand slam. Soto had a home run. I actually left early because it was a shit show. I mean, Garrett Cole gave up 4 home runs, and it was a nightmare. I mean, Mark Vientos for the Mets, he had 2 home runs, and I mean, it was bad. Brandon Nimmo had a home run. Yeah, I mean, Bader had a home run. It was tough being in Citi Field and just hearing the crowd, and it was brutal. But the Yankees, they were down by a lot. I mean, it was 6-1 going into the fifth inning, and then it was 9-1 going into the sixth. The Mets scored 3 runs in the sixth. It was 9-1 at that point. And then the Yankees start chipping away, and they start trying to make a comeback. They score a run in the seventh, thanks to Aaron Judge, RBI double. Juan Soto in the fifth inning had a solo shot of his own. And then in the eighth inning, Yankees score four of the 5 runs. They score 4 of them is from a Judge grand slam. So that was huge. And, Yankees make a little late rally, but it was too late. I mean, Garrett Cole obviously didn't have it. Garrett Cole's velo was down in the low 90s. And we know Garrett Cole, I mean, he's usually an upper 90s guy. He can hit 100 too every now and then. And the explanation, I mean, I saw the tweet during the game that he was averaging like 92 miles an hour on his fastball, 92, 93. I was really concerned. I was just thinking, well, shit, I hope he's not hurt again. But then a part of me was thinking too, look, it's his second start. Maybe he's not fully ramped up. I think his first start, he was hitting around 94, but I was a little concerned. I was actually very concerned that the velo was down. I was hoping there was no injury, but the Yankees, hold him out there for 4 innings, and I was like, all right. I mean, I guess he's all right. But then Garrett Cole said after the game that he, the arm was fine. He didn't, he wasn't feeling anything, but he didn't have his command. And he said because of that, he had to dial back on the velo because he couldn't find the plate, which was true. I mean, the first inning he couldn't find the strike zone. He was giving up hits, ton of 3-ball counts. You could tell he just didn't have it. Slider wasn't sharp. Fastball command was not there whatsoever. And then when he was in the zone, he was leaving right over the heart of the plate, and the Mets took advantage of it, did a ton of damage off him. One of his worst starts as a Yankee, historically, just, him pitching his career. So, there's that. That sucked. I'm not going to rip Cole, though. I mean, he won a Cy Young a year ago, so he can have a few bad starts, and he's coming back from injury. So it's whatever. It sucks. Hopefully he can bounce back from it, move on from it, and, improve from there. And, his first start against Baltimore wasn't great, but it wasn't that, so it sucked. It was a gut punch. And then the offense, I mean, absolute joke. The first game, they had bases loaded. I was walking into the stadium. I got there a little bit late, but I was walking in. They had the bases loaded, nobody out. And David Peterson, the Mets starting pitcher, who's a lefty, he then proceeded to strike out the side. Next 3 batters, all struck out. Now, I mean, I don't know how that happens. I mean, leave it to the Yankees to do that. I mean, the Yankees notoriously this year and in years past hit into a ton of double plays with bases loaded and runners in scoring position in general. But the fact that you strike out the side with the bases loaded, nobody out, is just mind-blowing. Totally embarrassing right out of the gate. That was in the top of the first inning. And then we get the bases loaded again, and we hit a double play. I mean, it's just one thing after the other. And this team just offensively just could not find its groove. I mean, the only guys that contributed really for the most part in the first game was Soto and Judge. I mean, the Yankees' comeback is thanks to Soto and Judge. Soto had that solo shot in the 5th inning to get the Yankees on the board when they were down 6-0. And I'm talking about the first game here. I'm going to get to the second game. And then the Yankees scored in the 7th thanks to an Aaron Judge RBI double. And then Aaron Judge hit a grand slam in the 8th to make it 7-9. So, I mean, the offense was primarily led by, I'm trying to see who drove in a run that wasn't Judge or Soto. So Judge had 5 RBIs. Soto had 1 RBI. So the sole RBI that wasn't from Judge or Soto was from Austin Wells. He had a pinch hit RBI hit. So 95% of the work was in this game was done by Soto and Judge, which is typically, as of late, I'm talking about, that's how it's been for this offense. Verdugo's been in a massive slump. Torres hasn't done anything all year. The Yankees just acquired this first baseman and third baseman from the Oakland A's, J.D. Davis, who used to be on the Mets. He stinks, but they had Stan out, and they thought, all right, we'll pick this guy up. He can platoon at first base because we got Rizzo out. He made his Yankee debut. He was 0 for 3, hitting a double play, had 2 strikeouts. And DJ LeMahieu hasn't hit. Jahmai Jones, I don't know why this guy's playing. He's a career 180 hitter. He's a minor leaguer. He stinks. Yankees actually, crazy enough, batted him cleanup in one of the Braves games back in that series. And then you have Trent Grisham. Our bench stinks. Grisham, awful, hitting 138. Jahmai Jones should be on the bench. LeMahieu is old. He just everything he grounds into he hits into the ground. It's like practically almost every other at bat he's hitting a rollover grounder to the third baseman or shortstop. It's just it's bad. It's bad right now for the Yankees. I mean, Volpe's been great. Okay, he's hitting 270s. He's been one of our hotter hitters in this lineup outside of Judge. Soto's been in a little bit of a slump lately, but he's coming out of it. But Judge, after Volpe, Soto, Judge, you have Torres, been an automatic out. He's been terrible. Verdugo has been in a crazy slump. He's like 0 for his last 22. J.D. Davis, who we just got, he hasn't done anything, but he's appeared in 1 game. Ben Rice, the rookie we called up, has actually been one of the bright performers of late. but he's hardly played. I mean, he's been in this platoon position now with JD Davis. In 22 at bats, he has 6 hits. He's hitting 273. Kid's been super impressive. You know, he's hit a lot of balls hard. Uh, Also that haven't found a gap, and he's put up a lot of good at bats. So I'm interested in seeing that kid play more. I know the Yankees love these matchups. Oh, we can't have lefty on lefty, but if this kid's a part of the future, I want to see him get more at bats. I want him to see lefties. I don't care if it's lefty-lefty matchup. If this kid's going to be a part of the future and potentially be our future first baseman, and this kid mashed in the minor leagues, by the way. I mean, absolutely raked. Uh, I want to see this kid get some more playing time. I want to see this guy playing consistently. He's 25 years old. This is his time. Okay, I'm tired of, the Yankees called this guy up because Rizzo was out, and he was one of our top performers in the minor leagues, between Double A and Triple A, sitting 275, had 15 home runs. I mean, this kid can hit. Last year he had 20 home runs. I mean, he's only been getting better. And then they had just called him up to Triple A, and he was hitting well over 300. So I mean, this kid's been hitting at every level. And late round draft pick out of Dartmouth, 12th round draft pick. Very impressive. He's from Massachusetts. Grew up a Yankees fan, but I want to see this kid play more. If Rizzo's getting up there in age, he's got a club option. I don't really. Rizzo's future looks pretty uncertain right now because he got hurt. He's getting older. He's in his mid-30s now. So this kid's 25 years old. I want to see what this kid's got. I mean, I don't care about the lefty. Like, look, if he's gonna be a part of this team beyond this year, he's gonna have to face lefties consistently. So why not do that now? I'm getting a little sick of these primary matchups with the platooning. Give the guy a shot. I mean, the Yankees constantly do this with rookies. They call these kids up and they hardly play them. They did that with Oswaldo Peraza a few years ago, and look what happened with him. I mean, they call him up for a day now, and I get he's come back from the shoulder injury stuff, but it's something about the Yankees, and they're not playing these rookies like they should be, like giving them a fair shot. I mean, this guy has been hitting in the minor leagues. Give him his fair shot. So look, I'm perfectly fine giving JD Davis some play because he's got a 790 OPS career lifetime against lefties. He can hit lefties a little bit, but I don't want him getting more playing time, honestly, over Ben Rice. I want to see this kid Ben Rice play. He's been impressive, and the limited time he has played, I want to see him play. I want to see Austin Wells play more. Austin Wells, younger catcher. He can throw behind the plate. He's a lefty bat. He's got some pop. I know he's struggled this year, but he's hardly played. He's called what? Maybe like 35% of the games? So this series was a shit show, okay? So the bullpen has been totally gassed. The Yankees Luis Hill got the start today. On the second game of the series for the Yankees, he gave up 4 runs. A lot of guys hurt right now. You have Stanton out. You have a lot of guys in the bullpen that are out. Nick Birdie, Scott Efros is still out. You lost Loizaga this year. Clay Holmes hasn't been good. I mean, these guys are tired, it looks like, especially the pitching. I'm talking about the pitching. Like, they look tired. They look just kind of gassed. I mean, we need the trade deadline to come up now. But the thing that really, aside from that pisses me off. Look, I know teams are going to have bad stretches. The Yankees are in an awful stretch right now, just awful. But what really pisses me off about this team that I'm tired of seeing with this team right now is the lack of accountability, especially with Gleyber Torres. Gleyber Torres has had an awful year, okay? Awful. So he hasn't been good with the bat at all. I mean, you look at his stats, 215 batting average, 7 home runs, 29 RBIs. He's going into his walk year, and he's putting up the worst numbers of his career right now in a season. And also defensively, too. He leads all second basemen in errors. He might lead all infielders, too, but I saw that stat tonight, too. Had an error last night on a ball, hit right to him in the infield. Just wasn't even close to fielding it. Went right through him. And then, not to mention, too, he was non-existent with the bat, too, continuing to slump. 2 strikeouts. And then he hit a ground out. He was 0 for 4, but he grounded out, and he didn't hustle down the line. And after the game, Yes Network, the broadcast booth, they called him out on it, saying that's unacceptable. Like they should, ex-players in that booth, seeing that, calling that BS out. But after the game, they talked to Gleyber Torres, and he says, "Yeah, my groin, I'm feeling it. They had to pull me from the game, not that long ago." And Boone backed him up on that and said that, yep, it's the injury. So then the next day, Aaron Boone then benches him and says, "Yep, that him not hustling out of the box played a part in that." Well, you just said it was the groin injury, why he was not hustling. So which is it? Is it the groin injury, or is it because he's just like, no offense, but his head's up his ass right now, and he's not, and he's clearly mentally he's not there, he's not thinking, and he's not giving full the effort he should. That is unacceptable. You pay the price to attend a Yankee game. Look, I understand it's at Citi Field. You're paying Citi Field prices, but regardless, fans pay a lot of money for parking, to get the seat, food, merchandise. You show up, you have an obligation to the fans to bust your butt and do the best you can at the very minimum. And you can't even do that. And after the game, you make a list of excuses saying you're hurt. Yeah, guess what? If it was that bad, then you shouldn't have been playing. They shouldn't have had you in the lineup, period. I don't want to hear that shit. That's bullshit. And then they pan the camera to Gleyber Torres tonight, and he's sitting there with a pout look on his face. He's pouting. What is this, Little League? I mean, gosh, are we just supposed to throw a pity party? You're having a bad year, okay? I'm sorry you're having a bad year with hitting and defense. But you need to have your head in the game. You need to move on. You need to put that behind you and put in the work and not show up and half-ass everything in the game, because you can clearly see it. I saw yesterday watching the game at Citi Field from the upper deck, and it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for a professional baseball player to do that. So figure it out. And I'm sick of Aaron Boone constantly covering for these guys and constantly going along with these excuses and constantly defending these guys. Look, I understand you have to defend your players. Okay, I understand you have to keep a locker room, but there is accountability that this team, Aaron Boone, he does not hold guys accountable when he should. Terry Collins, the former manager for the Mets, he would see shit like that with the Mets, back when they were awful. And I'm talking like very, very bad, like 2012, 2013 Mets. He would call it out in the press conference. He would call out the specific player too and say, that's not tolerant. He even said too, you know what? You don't want to, I don't give a crap. If it's hot out, cold, I don't care what the conditions are. If you're not showing up to the ballpark ready and in the right mindset to play and with the mindset of I'm going to go out there and bust my butt and you're half-assing, then let us know and we can go up and get a minor league guy to come up and take your spot. And he was damn right, because you know what? Aaron Boone is too soft on these guys. I'm sorry. He is. Every manager nowadays, it has to be constantly 24/7 defending a player no matter what, because, I can't lose the locker room. I can't lose the locker room. Guess what? Players want to be defended, but you know what also players want? They want someone in that room. Not everybody wants this, but a lot of guys want someone in that room that is going to push them. And sometimes that requires a bit of tough love. You know what? Get your head out of your ass. This is unacceptable. I know you're struggling right now, but not hustling out of the box, not thinking when you're out in the field, making all these stupid mental errors. That is unacceptable. Pete Rose always said too. He said, physical errors, they're part of the game. Mental errors, he said, I didn't do that very much. That is inexcusable. Gleyber Torres, you can see it on his face. You can see it mentally. He is just not there. He is not there, and that's why he got benched. Rightfully so. So I'm not going to feel sorry for a guy that because he's slumping and because he's, woe's me, that he's going to go out there and half-ass everything for a team that's in playoff contention right now. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. Cry me a river at that point. I'm gonna feel more remote. I'm gonna feel more upset for the guy who's doing everything he can, working his ass off, and it shows, and it shows in his demeanor and everything. and is struggling. You know what? I'm going to be upset that guy's struggling. I'm going to be frustrated with them. But I'm going to say, you know what? That guy's working his butt off. And that guy, I can at the very least respect. I don't have to be in love, I don't have to be happy with him. I can be annoyed, obviously, as a fan that he's struggling, but I could say, you know what, that guy's working his freaking butt off, and that guy's going to come out of it. And that's who Aaron Judge is. As good as Aaron Judge is, when he was in that freaking slump, I was worried, but I said, you know what, it's Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge has the resume, but Aaron Judge is one of the hardest workers in the game. That guy is constantly swinging a bat till he's like practically blue in the face. I mean, that guy, he is always working. I mean, you listen to people that talk, always studying the game. I mean, every at bat, practically, he's analyzing, going back into the cages, taking more swings, constantly studying and being a student of the game. I mean, you see what he does behind the scenes, and you can talk about the God-given ability and what he is physically, but it's the things he does behind the scenes, the work. That's why he's the Yankee captain, and the presence he has in the leadership and how that transcends to the entire team. Garrett Cole, the same way. Garrett Cole's always studying, always trying to get better. Gleyber Torres, he doesn't have the same, it's like he lets this get in his head, and he's just completely lost. He's completely lost. Which, I understand as a, I never went far in baseball, but it's a very mental game, obviously, and it can really beat you down. I get that. But there is no excuse for a lack of effort. None whatsoever. That's unacceptable, number one. Number two, I mean, just the lineup, Soto and Judge, it's been the two-man wrecking crew. I mean, as of late, I'm talking. I mean, you have a ton of guys in slumps right now. You have Rizzo out. You have Stanton out. The bullpen, incredibly taxed right now. You have injuries. Victor Gonzalez, one of our swing guys, he just got released. Another problem with our bullpen, too, that the Yankees have been trying to address is the lack of swing and miss in the bullpen. Not getting as much swing and miss as they have in recent years, like last year. So then they made some moves. They DFA'd Victor Gonzalez, one of our lefty swing guys. He got picked up by the Baltimore Orioles on waivers. And then the Yankees called up Phil Bickford, who was on the Dodgers and Mets, who's got like a higher swing and miss rate. And then they called up one of their minor leaguers, Yandry Gomez, who actually pitched tonight. He got shelled, but look, they had a rain delay, kind of a bad situation anyway. He was sitting around, probably not throwing for quite a while. But he's got some wipeout stuff, great sweeper, slider combo with him. So that's how the Yankees are trying to address it. But right now, to assess this team, the key issues are the bullpen is massively banged up. The pitching is banged up as a whole. I mean, you have Clark Schmidt out. Garrett Cole isn't fully back, in his two starts. Obviously he's still trying to ramp up. Luis Hill, another guy too, his last couple starts, his last start against the Orioles, he got rocked. And then tonight against the Mets, he wasn't as sharp. Gave up 4 runs. Fastball, slider were not as crisp. And that could be another thing with him related to fatigue, right? We've talked about Luis Hill. He had Tommy John surgery and was out all last year. And Brian Hoke, the Yankees reporter, he posted a very interesting tweet. And I'm trying to find it right now. But he was posting the innings. Sorry. So he said 3 hours ago, Luis Hill is on pace to throw 160 innings. He threw 4 innings last year, all in the minors. His career high is 108.2 in 2021, majors and minors combined. So, that's a red flag. That screams, you know what? And I've talked about this all year. You can't freaking push this guy well over 100 innings a year after coming back from Tommy John. You can't do that. You just cannot do that. You can't ramp a guy up that fast. And I know the Yankees have said, oh, otherwise we'll wait and see, but you can't. So the alternative is that down the line, and Brian Hoke actually thinks this too. He replied to someone's tweet that the Yankees are going to have to throw him in the bullpen. So the Yankees, realistically, they're going to have to go out and get another starter because I don't know when Clark Schmidt's going to get back. It's probably going to be a few months for him. So you're going to take Luis Hill out of the bullpen, and then you got to hope too that Garrett Cole can get back to full strength relatively soon, if at all this year. We'll have to see. And so you need another starter, and you need a few bullpen arms. And then obviously the offense has been a major concern these last few weeks. So realistically too, you also have to go get another bat. There's a lot of holes right now with this team. I'm not saying it's an awful team. I mean, look, they've won 52 games. Okay, they're 52-29, but about to be 52-30. But this is a team that has holes they need to address. And if they don't have a big deadline, they're not going anywhere. Is the season over? No. Does this feel like rock bottom right now for this Yankee team, considering how the season started? Yes. Are they going to get out of it? Probably. But I'm pissed off because they got absolutely embarrassed by the Mets in New York at Citi Field. I mean, when they were down 2-3 runs, it felt like they were down 7. I mean, the offense really just cannot get in a groove outside of Juan Soto and Aaron Judge. Okay, Juan Soto and Aaron Judge were the offense. And it was like that again tonight. I mean, talking about this second game, Aaron Judge had a 2-run home run. Okay, and the current score is 2-12. Mets are up by 10 runs. Yankees have 2 runs, again, thanks to Aaron Judge. 2-run home run. We are now in the bottom of the 8th. Oh, my gosh. Brutal. Absolutely brutal. And, yeah, I mean, and then you break down this game, okay? It's Luis Hill, he didn't have it. But look, it's 2 bad starts for him this year. ERA now up to 3.15, which is kind of nuts to think about because not too long ago it was at down in the low ones, which is crazy to think about. 4 1/3 innings, 4 hits, 5 earned runs, 4 walks, only 2 strikeouts, just 1 home run given up, but the damage was done. And then Caleb Ferguson came in. He gave up a run in less than an inning. This guy Gomez that I told you about, the Yankees just called up, that has some good swing and miss stuff. He went 2 innings, gave up 4 hits, 5 earned runs, 3 walks, 2 home runs. And then now this guy, Tim Hill, is in the game, who got released by the White Sox. The worst team in baseball, has a 5.26 ERA. Yep, I mean, that's what's going to happen in a 12-2 game. You're going to bring in the worst relievers out of the bunch. And, yeah, I mean, overall, this bullpen has been awful. Phil Bickford, who they had to call up, he's got 6 ERA, 3 innings. Cole, 9 ERA right now, out of the starting role. Clay Holmes, ERA at up to 2.45, but he's been awful of late. We've talked about that. I mean, his last 7 games, 6.75 ERA, last 15, 5.93. Tommy Kahnle, he's been struggling as well. Actually, no, he hasn't been too bad. 3.18 ERA in his last 15 games. That's not awful. But you go down this list, man. You go down this list. Rodon has been scuffling of late. He was not good against the Braves. He gave up a bunch of runs. I think he gave up 6-7 runs. Last 7 games, 4.54 ERA. He's not been the same pitcher of late. And trying to see. I'm just going down the pitching list. Michael Tonkin, who has actually been great for us since we picked him up. Good reliever, 2.3 ERA. His last 7 games, he's actually been solid, 1.35 ERA. But there's a lot of guys in this bullpen that just have not been good lately. And Luke Weaver's been all right. Luke Weaver's been very good, actually, 2.25. Yeah, but then you have these other guys you got to call up because injuries. Gonzalez they wanted to get rid of because he wasn't cutting it. Caleb Ferguson, he's been very meh this year, not great. Last 7 games, 9 ERA. I mean, he had a few relief appearances like not too long ago, but overall he's been awful this year. And the only reason I really say mess because I do remember like a couple outings not too long ago. He was actually somewhat decent. But last 7 games, 9 ERA. Last 15 games, 5.06. Last 30, 6.45. Season ERA is at 5.84. It's just bad, man. It's bad. And it's definitely a very bad stretch right now for this Yankee team. I don't really want to rage too much, honestly, because it's late here and I don't want to wake up my family. So I'm sorry for not like screaming on here, but it just sucks, man. It's just the mood. I'm really just pissed at honestly just the offense. How many double plays they hit in with bases loaded again tonight too. First inning again, bases loaded, 1 out, double play from Verdugo, and a double play again from Verdugo, and it's just 2 innings later, and it's just everything that could go wrong this series went wrong. Aaron Judge has 30 home runs. We're not even at the All-Star break yet. That's ridiculous. He is so good. Him and Soto have been as advertised. I mean, it's crazy that Judge has 30 home runs. In the first month of the year, he was hitting under 200. I mean, that's just crazy to think about. But outside of that, outside of Judge, Soto, Ben Rice, it's been pretty downhill right now these past few weeks for this Yankee club. Now approaching 4 straight series losses. And before then, the Yankees every series they hadn't every series practically they were winning. I think they maybe had lost like 1 series prior to this very, very bad stretch of baseball. And now it's just, you're playing a Mets team now that's now going to be at 500 after tonight, as they've just been one of the hotter teams in baseball. They came into this series winning 7 of their last 9. They beat up on Chicago. They just, the Nationals. I mean, Mets been heating up. Their pitching's been good. Luis Severino is back to his old self. Their offense is heating up. Pete Alonso, Mark Vientos looks great. Norwalk native, by the way. That's where I'm from. So, yeah, I mean, it's really rough sales right now, and I'm really pissed off, very. But it's late here. It's 11:30. I'm tired. I was working today, and then I was threw on the game, and then just like that, it was 4-0 Mets, and I was like, screw this. I gotta shut this off for a bit. I shut it off, and then it gets delayed. Then I turn it back on for a bit, and it's just and then it just becomes a blowout again. It's just it sucks. It really sucks. I'm taking a lot of shit from Mets fans right now, rightfully so. So I mean, well, let's check the score. And the Orioles won today too, so now our division lead is only by one game. So 12-2. We are in the top of the 9th. Run on first, 2-0 count to Cabrera, and he just put the ball in play, no out. So, yeah, I mean, Cabrera hit a double, second and third, 1 out in the top of the 9th. Adrian Hauser's on the mound. So now the Yankees, they go to Toronto for 4 games. The probable pitchers for that, because why not? Because I'm so over the Subway Series. It was a Subway Series disaster. Absolute disaster from start to finish. Carlos Rodon gets the ball tomorrow, 7 o'clock at the Rogers Center. Then Friday, Marcus Stroman, who's been great of late. And then Cortez gets the ball Saturday. He's been good lately too. And then Sunday, Garrett Cole get the ball again against Kevin Gausman. So, got to go to Toronto and take care of business. I mean, I just hope this doesn't last too much longer, because what really pisses me off about this team, kind of the same thing that you're seeing, that you saw last year and even a bit the year prior, is it's really mostly Aaron Judge doing a lot of the work. I mean, at the beginning of this year, the entire lineup was like a lot of guys were hitting. I mean, you had Judge hitting, you had Soto. Well, no, Judge wasn't hitting at the beginning of the year, right? You had other guys picking up the slack, like Soto, Verdugo, you know, and Volpe, Rizzo, right? Those guys were really like picking up the slack. Stanton, and then and then Judge gets going, right? And now Judge has been on a tear ever since after April. And it's like you're just really not getting a whole ton of production now these last few weeks out of Verdugo. You've got nothing from Torres all year long. DJ comes back. He's been non existent, hitting in the 180s, just hitting everything into the ground, rolling over practically everything. Uh, and then you had Stanton go down. So now you got to go to the bench, which is there's no one there. I talked about that at the beginning of the year. One of the concerns, Yankees don't have a bench. And then you got to go to Trent Grisham too. He stinks. So basically what we're looking at is you look at the Yankees lineup right now, and I'm being completely honest with you guys. I mean, this isn't trying to be a negative Nancy or anything. Just being straight up with you. You have Volpe, Soto, Judge, his first three guys. You have J.D. Davis for the Yankees hitting cleanup. J.D. Davis got released by the Oakland A's, one of the worst teams in baseball. He's hitting 227. The Yankees in the Braves series batted Jahmai Jones cleanup. Jahmai Jones is a career 180 hitter. He's a minor leaguer. And then you go after that, you go Verdugo, LeMahieu, Trevino, Rice, Cabrera. Nearly all those guys are automatic outs. Davis, automatic out. Verdugo, been an automatic out. LeMahieu, automatic out. Trevino, automatic out. I mean, they've all been that the last several weeks. Verdugo's like 0 for 23. He hasn't had a hit in quite some time. That's a long time without a hit. I mean, he's in a massive slump. And, he's had some tough matchups this series, lefty-lefty, but, sucks. And then, DJ LeMahieu has been non-existent, hit 178. Trevino, had a good start to the year, in like May, early June, but he's cooled off. Hasn't really done much. And then Austin Wells, he's hardly played, so he can't really get into a groove at all. Ben Rice has been one of the few bright spots of late. As Waldo Cabrera, he's a bench player. Had a hot start to the year, but he's a bench player. So it's bad. It's really bad. So basically 5 through 9 is non-existent for this team. Or 4 through 9, I should say. 4 through 9. So I don't know. And I'm saying 4 through 9 is non-existent right now. I'm not saying, 4 through 9 has been non-existent all year. Obviously not, because then they wouldn't have the record that they have now. But it's a problem. It's a problem. We had the same problem last year in 2023, where we had a ton of easy outs in the lineup, and it was like Judge and Glaber that were doing the work, right? And now Glaber hasn't hit at all this year, and game just ended. Yankees lose 12-2. Glaber hasn't hit all year. He's been one of the worst, if not the worst, infielders in baseball. Leads in errors, and he's been non-existent with the bat, and he's not thinking straight out there. And I covered all that with him having his head up his ass and just not getting benched for it. And you have all that going on. And really right now, the only positives is Soto's hitting over 300, Judge is hitting over 300, and Volpe is continuing to be a solid leadoff hitter. Other than that, really no positives with this lineup. Or no, I could say Ben Rice. Ben Rice has been fun to watch a bit. He's been impressive a bit. Ben Rice. Volpe, Soto, Judge, Ben Rice. That's it. So they got to figure it out. The pitching has not been good. I saw a stat too several days ago. Yankees team ERA like last 2 weeks has been like over 5. That's including the bullpen and starting pitching. They're giving up a crap ton of runs. They gave up 12 runs tonight. They gave up 9 runs last night to the Mets. And Braves series too. I know the Braves are a good team, but even the Braves too, they gave up a crap ton of runs. Let's go back to the game logs. I'm actually curious to see because I don't remember scores from 4 or 5 days ago. But let me see real quick. Let me check. Come on. So Yankees lose yesterday, 9-7. They lose tonight, 12-2. Monday they had off. Sunday they lose 3-1. That's not bad. Saturday, they won 8-3. Friday they gave up 8 runs. They lost 8-1. Thursday they lost 17-5 to the Orioles. 17-5. Wednesday they lose 7-6 to Baltimore. Tuesday they won 2-4. And yeah, so several of those games were pretty either close to 10 runs or over 10 runs. I mean that's just insane. Like that's crazy. That's I mean that's just the pitching is just totally crapped itself the last several games. I mean that many games in a week stretch where you're giving up over 5 runs that often is over 5-6 runs that often is a little alarming right now, and it just goes to show that I think the team's gassed. They're gassed. And we're not even in the dog days of summer yet, too. So they need a historic deadline. They need pitching, which we're always saying, right? They need pitching. They need pitching. Even when they came into this year and they had the best team ERA in baseball, right? We still always say they need pitching because every team needs pitching. I mean, you can never have enough pitching depth, okay? That's what every GM will tell you because pitching is so volatile. Guys across the league go down like crazy because, Tommy John surgery is going up and guys are throwing harder and whatnot. Every team, every year, always needs pitching. And now it's more apparent because we got more guys going down like flies. So that we need pitching, starting pitching, bullpen. Need another starting pitcher. Need probably 2 bullpen guys at a minimum. And then we need we got to figure out catching and first base. Ben Rice, I'd love to see him get more of a shot at first base. This whole platooning thing, I was on board with it at first because I was like, all right, JD Davis can hit lefties and we suck against lefties. But I don't know. This Ben Rice kid, he's been one of the few bright spots in his lineup lately. Honestly, I'm at the point where just let him play against lefties. Let's see what he's got. Because at the end of the day, Rizzo's going to be, 34. He's going to be 35. I mean, he's not going to be with this team beyond next year at the most. So let's see if this 25-year-old kid could be the future first baseman. I'd say give Ben Rice the majority of the play and cut this platoon crap. Okay. After that, it's late. Oh my gosh, there's no way I can cover everything. That much shit went on in this series. That's how bad it was. If you watch the games, obviously you know that. So my rationale on this, I'm pissed. These are the kind of games that want to make you smash your TV. Offense, pitching, defense, want the complete shit. Aaron Boone doing his typical crap of not holding a guy accountable for lack of effort. I'm sick of that. I understand Aaron Boone defending his players and, oh yeah, you got to keep the clubhouse, but you got to call that shit out. Okay, that's unacceptable. That's like little league shit right there. And and the bullpen's been gassed too. The bullpen's given up a ton of runs these last 2 weeks. Yankees lose 4 series in a row. Now you got to go to Toronto and deal with the Blue Jays and got to bounce back. I mean, but going on Twitter, people saying season's over, this and that. You got to stop. Sometimes I overreact on Twitter or maybe on this podcast because I'm upset, because I'm angry. I'm a fan, because there's no excuse for being that badly embarrassed against, the opposition, especially in New York. But at the end of the day, this team's banged up. There's a lot of guys that have been underperforming that have come back and underperformed. And at the end of the day, the Yankees have to make some very tough decisions. They have to make a lot of decisions. It's a good team, a team that won 52 games to this point. They're on pace to win over 100 games. Still, even after this awful stretch of baseball, which is going to happen. You're going to have highs and lows of a season. Look, the Orioles just lost. The Orioles were just coming off losing 5 straight games. They just ended that tonight. But the Orioles, who won over 100 games last year, they just lost 5 straight games that they broke tonight, that they ended tonight. But 5, I mean, look, it's going to happen. I mean, you're going to have your bad stretches of baseball. Usually this team is red hot during the summer. They're usually awful to start the year, and then they pick it up over the summer. And now it's kind of reversed that this year. But at the end of the day, Brian Cashman and Hal Steinbrenner, they need to sit down, and they have a lot of hard decisions to make, specifically at first base. Are you going to give Ben Rice majority of the playing time? Are you going to do this platoon stuff that I honestly really not a huge fan of? I understand J.D. Davis has probably been here for a minute, but I'm really not loving that idea when nobody else in the lineup's hitting. Point number 2, the catching. We've talked about it. It's an issue. Trevino can't throw guys out. He's cooled it down a little bit with the bat. You got to start considering now giving Ben Rice the majority of the playing. Not Ben Rice, sorry. Austin Wells, the majority of the playing time. Austin Wells, while he's not as good of a pitch framer and blocker behind the plate, he can throw guys out. He's got a better arm than Trevino. And he does have the advantage of being a lefty bat with some more pop than Trevino, even though Trevino has been the better hitter this year. But Austin Wells, he's been a bit of an unlucky hitter this year, just in hitting a lot of hard contact that's been outs, but also too, hasn't played much. He's maybe caught around 30% of the game. So you're going to give Austin Wells more of a chance. And Austin Wells in his pinch hit scenarios this series has actually had a couple hits. He's been good in his very limited action lately. So that's another decision you have to make. Then you have to decide about the bullpen. What are we going to do about the bullpen? Who are we going to go out and add? There's a couple guys out there that I could think of on top of my head, one of them being Tanner Scott of the Marlins, who's could be a good lefty swing guy for us. That could be a top trade target. Another guy in the White Sox named Garrett Crochet, who could actually start too. But he's going to command a big package from the White Sox. So the Yankees have a lot of questions, specifically with the bullpen, catching, first base, and the starting pitching that they need to address at this deadline if they're going to have any shot to win a World Series in October. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it is. And no, the season's not over, but fans have a right to be pissed, especially the younger generation of fans who don't, like myself, who don't remember 09 and are kind of seeing the same shit that they saw last year in terms of the offense primarily being Aaron Judge and one other guy, and then the injuries just piling on like crazy, coincided with the fact that we really don't have a ton of depth in the pitching department, but also on our bench too. And that's very frustrating because at the end of the day, no playoff contending team should have a guy like Jahmai Jones batting cleanup, nor J.D. Davis. That's just ridiculous. Okay, so we need to figure it out. We need to add more depth. I also, too, would like to add a bench bat because we have no bench. We came into this year with no bench. And then people are saying, oh, call up Spencer Jones or do this. Spencer Jones isn't ready. Okay, he struggled to start the year in Double-A. He's now finally starting to heat it up. He needs more time. Okay, that guy's. I don't even think he's played like more than 2 full seasons in the minor leagues. He needs some time to further develop. I don't want to rush that kid and then come up and then he starts struggling. Jason Dominguez was supposed to come back. Unfortunately, he's hurt, so now he's going to be out several more months. There's just been a lot of shit luck, honestly, with this team in terms of injuries and then the combination of guys underperforming. So the Yankees front office, they have to sit down and they have to figure this out because this is our one freaking year to figure this shit out and win this World Series with Juan Soto for one guaranteed year. And I'm tired of this shit. I'm going to go to bed after this because it's nearly midnight. I'm sorry I didn't really scream and rant like maybe some of you guys wanted me to, but believe me, I'm upset. I'm disgusted. I'm just awful, awful baseball. I understand that it's going to happen to every team, but sometimes I just look at this team and I see some of the same trends, and it really like kind of gets me really negative, and honestly just got to wipe it and just go on to the next series and hope that this team can get out of this freaking funk, because it is a bad one right now. And I know I came on so many of these episodes and was saying, "Oh my gosh, this is the team." Like, we're so it's wild in terms of fandom how much we over exaggerate when a team is riding high and also when a team is riding low. So, what I'm trying to do more as a fan and more as a critical thinker in terms of improving this podcast is being a fan and showing my emotion when it's appropriate and my frustration when it's appropriate, but also critically thinking too, and not always overreacting to everything. And that's something I'm trying to get better at. I'm a passionate Yankee fan. I've been going to games with my dad since I was very little, and I love this team, and I'm passionate about rooting for this team. And I don't remember '09, and my dream is to go to a World Series with my father. I mean, that I've grown up around the Yankees. I eat, sleep, and breathe baseball 24/7, and I'm passionate about this shit. And sometimes, you let that emotion and it kind of carries you away a little bit. But I just want to reiterate, anytime maybe that happens, it's just the fandom coming out in me. But I also critically think about the game. I'm a student of the game. I played the game a lot of years growing up. I study the game. I try and formulate my own critical thoughts and opinions, but also beliefs as well, and get all the facts out there, and get to you guys what's the critical facts that you need to know. Okay, like I'm always going to be honest about this team. I said that from the minute I started this podcast. I'm going to be completely honest about this team 24/7, especially when they're riding high and especially when they're riding low. And when they were riding high, I very well talked about extensively all the great things about this team and how this team feels different. And I still do believe that this team, is different from last year, but there are still alarming trends that we see from last year that concern me, and that sometimes make me think that maybe this isn't the team. But at the end of the day, we need to move on. We need to have hope as Yankee fans. We can be frustrated. We can vent on Twitter and stuff like that with our family and friends. But at the end of the day, what we need from Yankee management and ownership is for them to sit down collectively and figure this shit out and figure out what they need to do at the deadline to have a massive deadline and get this team that's banged up right now and underperforming fixed. So we can go into October full steam ahead. If we win a division, if we don't, clearly, I honestly don't give a fuck, because at the end of the day, it's not, you have so many teams. Look at last year. Every team that won their division, they went into the division series and they were ice cold. The Orioles, they got swept by the Rangers. The D-backs, they crushed the Dodgers. Both those teams were wild card teams. They ended up going to the World Series. So you just got to get into the playoffs. I don't give a shit, honestly, if the Yankees at this point winning the division be nice, yeah, because it supposedly sets you up in a better position. But sometimes that's not always the case, because division series, these teams get days off and then they come in and then sometimes they're colder, and they're facing a team that's fresh off playing a bunch of games in the wild card series, which is what happened last year, and it shot those teams in the division series in the foot. So I don't give a shit about that. Realistically, I want to win the division. It's going to be a close race, but at the end of the day, just get in the freaking playoffs and get hot at the right time. That's all I got to say. And I'm going to say another thing too, because, a lot of fans get in this negative mindset about their team. I don't know if I've said this before. I think I probably have. But the Nationals won the World Series in 2019. They were 19-31 at the All-Star break. They went on after that to have the best record in the second half, and that carried them all the way to the World Series against the Houston Astros, where they won. Juan Soto was on that team, and that was probably the craziest year I've ever seen, because they literally went from a darn awful team to a team that was a World Series contender like that in the second half, just the flip of a switch. So for anybody right now feeling down about this team, look, they're 51-25. So at the end of the day, no, sorry, they're 52 and 29. Just know that they're going to make the playoffs. But at the end of the day, it's World Series or bust with this team, obviously. So let's just hope that this team can get out of this funk very quickly tomorrow, and they can make the necessary moves that they need to make and get the chips where they need to lie at the deadline, and we can move full steam ahead into October and then just hope that this is the team. That's all I'm going to say. Shit series. Credit to the Mets for kicking our ass. Got to move on. Look, the Mets can treat this like their World Series. I don't care. We care about championships. We care about what happens in October. Let's move on. Let's learn from this embarrassment of a series, and let's right the ship, and let's get better and be better for it and move on as fans too. Have a great night, everybody. It's already past midnight. See you guys tomorrow for the start of the 4-game Toronto series. Let's go, Yankees.